Good afternoon. How's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Monday. It is the Earthmaster out here, about 11:57 a.m. Technically still morning out here. September 9th, 2024 is the date. Latest activity on the globe here shows a 4.1 across the area of Japan. One of the latest quakes here rocking the area. Looks like we did have a 4.8 earthquake in this area as well late last night. Right around that subduction zone area. So kind of keeping an eye on this region here for some larger scale potential. This is that subduction zone that got a mega quake warning put on it a few weeks back here from the Japanese government. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. As far as California goes, taking a look here. Got some big time activity across the Nevada area once again. Quite a bit of swarming occurring out here northwest of Las Vegas here in various areas of the Nevada desert. South of Tonopah got a pretty decent swarm going on this morning as well. About 37 earthquakes here in the vicinity of Tonopah. Now, if we check out the last 30 days in this area, we'll see that there's been a considerable swarm out here in the little fracture zone around the Goldfield Hills area. This map reporting, well, specifically in this area, well over 300 earthquakes in the last 30 days in this area. That's just a sign of some quite a bit of stress out here against the plate boundary. There's been a couple different swarms out here all across this area, again in a linear fashion, indicative here of the extreme pressure out along the plate boundary. It may seem like a long distance from here to there, but in plate tectonic world, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump. That's where we'll see a lot of the strain accumulate across in that area when things are quite tense here across the Garlock Fault Shear Zone, the San Andreas Fault area. So continue to keep an eye on that. Southern California specifically, a handful of earthquakes across the Garlock Fault Shear Zone. And down here across the southern end of the San Andreas Fault into the Brawley Seismic Zone. Got a couple of earthquakes here working its way up, it looks like, very close here to the plate boundary itself. Not anything big, but a couple ones and even a two-pointer in there, stirring up about 4 o'clock in the morning or so. Local time here, within minutes of each other, we've seen a little bit of adjustment going on there. So, we got to keep an eye on it with everything that's been happening out here in Southern California recently. The elevated earthquake activity in the past 4 to 5 weeks here, maybe 6 weeks. It's a good idea to still be prepared out here. I don't think this is over. I think all this activity is leading to something much bigger across the Southern California region. And, of course, it all points towards the San Andreas Fault here. As far as anything above the 2.5 level, looks like Yorba Linda area. Seen a 2.5 here around the, this looks like the Elsinore Fault northern segment that runs into Los Angeles area. Fairly lengthy fault system. They can get some big earthquakes on that as well. That earthquake coming in about 8:21 in the morning here. So we'll continue to keep an eye there on Southern California. It is looking active, but more so over here across western Nevada. And these two areas tend to swarm in sequence of the regional strain that's out here on the San Andreas Fault. Further up into Northern California here, the Bay Area fairly quiet. Got a cluster of earthquakes up and down the Coast Range here. Looks like that's off the Macama Fault, northern edge here as well. Nothing big, just a couple smaller microquakes out there. Shingletown, though, outside of Redding, seen a 2.7 earthquake this morning. That way south of Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta sits way up here, so this is just strain out here. Probably, I don't think it's on the Battle Creek Fault here, but there's a couple other fault systems running through the foothills and up into the mountains outside of Redding. Through the Pacific Northwest, a couple smaller earthquakes out around the Mount St. Helens area, and also one over here. I don't recall seeing that one yesterday. That is towards the Cascadia subduction zone, about 17 miles deep here, so that is into the subduction zone itself. The Cascadia subduction zone begins offshore here. Of course, it extends north and south, but it subducts underneath this land. So as you go further right on the map, the deeper areas begin to happen underneath this area. But this earthquake is above the tremor region. Tremor activity occurs downstream here about 35, 45 kilometers underneath this area. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up here on the map. Let's give a quick glance at the Yellowstone overview here real quick. Not a whole lot going on that I can see here. As far as earthquake activity goes, let's see what we got. Are these earthquakes? Well, it kind of look like earthquakes. Let me see. That's Maple Creek. That is showing up. Some of that earthquake activity is showing up here across this other seismograph station as well. So it looks like maybe a little bit of earthquake activity around the Maple Creek area of Yellowstone. These are very small earthquakes, microquakes, but it does look like there is a little bit stirring up out here. All right, further out and about here across Oklahoma, Texas area, all look the same. A little bit of movement over here across Tennessee. Maryville, Tennessee, seeing a little bit of earthquake activity yesterday and today. A couple twos out there and even some ones just to the northwest here of the Great Smoky Mountain Range here. Don't see too much activity out here. It is outside of the New Madrid seismic zone, which is much further to the west. But it looks like this area itself has a couple different fault systems here. And the hazard map shows these earthquakes today within the hazard area in terms of potential larger scale activity. So I don't recall the last time we've seen a bigger earthquake out here. Periodically we get a little bit of smaller quake activity like we're seeing right now, but it's spread out in a couple days or a couple months, not like this all in a one-day period. So continue to watch that. A little bit of adjustment going on there. Also up here across the northeast area, looks like outside of Gladstone, a 1.9 this morning. I think that's that area that seen a little bit of earthquake activity earlier this year. But overall, we'll keep an eye there on the North American plate. That includes California. Hawaii area getting a bunch of earthquake activity here underneath the Pahala area, 20 miles down below the surface here in the plumbing system of the hot spot region here. And not a whole lot going on up here north around the Kilauea volcano, but with the increasing activity here south and underneath this area, that could be a sign of recharging of the entire region here. So things could get elevated here across the Kilauea volcano once again. Let me pull up the deformation chart here real quick. Which is fairly stationary, at least in the last 2 days. There's our sharp inflation event back on the 7th of this month, a couple days ago. So it went up a little bit here in terms of the inflation, leveled out, and now we're starting to go back down. That's a little bit of fluctuation of the magma below the surface here in this region. Nothing has changed here in terms of any escalated activity, but it could potentially pick up following the deeper activity out here. Let's see what we got here. Down across New Zealand area, these guys, of course, a couple days ago here, this area was really rocking and rolling with a bunch of fives out here. Today, a couple newer quakes, a little bit closer to New Zealand, North Island side here. Had a 4.8 earthquake early this morning, well northeast of Hicks Bay, New Zealand. That appears to be on the southern end here of the Kermadec Trench. Of course, there's a little boundary here between the subduction zone of the Kermadec Trench and the subduction zone of the Hikurangi area right here. There's a little area that looks like more of a minimal transform boundary here, strike slip zone. Anyway, a 4.8 coming into that area this morning. I think we had a couple more earthquakes North Island side, deeper underneath this area, 3.7 and another 3.1 underneath North Island. So things are still kicking out there across this area of Japan and Taiwan. Well, there's our latest earthquake here across the this is a subduction zone right here as well, the Solomon Sea area. Got a that trench, look at that. Beautiful area. It can produce some large earthquakes, but for now, 4.8, 27 miles deep here into this area. And a handful of other quakes here as well overnight. Taiwan, 4.4. Papua New Guinea, 4.6. A little bit of bouncing back and forth of the earthquake activity here. Nothing big for now, but we'll continue to keep an eye on it. Some more activity up along the Aleutian Trench as well from yesterday, 4.1. And let's see what we got here across Anchorage. A couple smaller quakes, really nothing big. 2.5 map pretty much removes a good amount of earthquakes there. The latest one above 2.5 looks to be down along the Aleutian Trench here, about 10:30 this morning. All right, let's take a look here at the rest of the model. A little bit of fracture activity out here in the southeastern Pacific. Couple fives stirring up out there. Fairly recent earthquake activity here along the East Pacific Rise. This is a divergent boundary. A couple different unnamed fracture zones out here. And that should amplify conditions out here across, I'd say about Ecuador area southward along the Pruchili Trench. Let's see, when was that? That was 10:37 this morning. Haven't seen any elevated activity out here above the 4.0 level. Let's see what we got. A couple smaller quakes out here this morning. It looks like they're along the Cocos Plate and the Nazca Plate boundary, also here around the Ecuador area. So keep an eye on this region. Again, normally when things kick up out here across this area of the plate boundary, the spreading seafloor center puts strain on the Nazca Plate here. And of course, that applies further strain against the Pruchili Trench where South America resides, at least the western side of it. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on out there for now. The Mediterranean area, older quakes from yesterday. Whoa, that was that got me a little dizzy. 5.0 Indian Ocean, that was from yesterday, I believe. Yeah, late last night. Mid-Indian Ridge, another divergent boundary zone out there. South Sandwich Trench, I believe that's from yesterday as well. A little 5.1 earthquake. So we'll kind of watch things out here today, folks. Quite a bit of movement across the North American continent here. And pretty much follow a trail of activity from the Rockies area, even in the Canada, around in this type of fashion here. And that's due to the North American Craton area, which is a center portion of the North American Plate and a relatively stable piece of landmass over the millions of years here that has not seen any type of deformation occurring around it, obviously with the Rocky Mountains, and you got this activity across the eastern portion of the country. So this landmass out here relatively stable in terms of plate tectonics, and that's where all the activity is occurring around it, which makes sense. We always see this little loop here stretching down to about Oklahoma, but these are some fracking operations and oil pumping operations out here as well, where we're seeing that earthquake activity today and yesterday, and on any given day. We always see a lot of earthquake activity out there. But we'll keep an eye here on Southern California, rocking and rolling a little bit. This activity here from yesterday around Lake Almanor, nothing big. Got a little swarm of activity here. This is one thing we haven't seen in a little while, is a good swarm out here on the Brawley seismic zone. Swarms come and go in this area, but goodness, they've gotten awfully close here in the past, very close to the San Andreas Fault here, which is, obviously highly strained. And we're working our way towards the big one out here, folks. That's a fact for sure. All right, let's go check out space weather activity real quick. I know we got we got a proton event kicking up right now in a big fashion across the polar regions here, quite heightened. Looks like the ionosphere is getting bombarded there with some charged protons. Not for sure exactly where that came from. September 9th. Okay, maybe 2 more coronal mass ejections to report. The first event was related to activity off the western limb. It appears to be directed away from Earth. A proton enhancement reaching the minor S1 radiation storm threshold is being detected. And that is could be due to that large explosion there. Interesting, for sure. Let's see what this is here. Looks like he's got a... oh, look at that. That's beautiful. If you didn't catch it, I'll rewind this here. Look on this side. Beautiful eruption there on the far side of the sun. Either way, proton event kicking up right now. Aurora forecast. That is a decent G2 class storm here forecasted for tomorrow night. This is going to be for Tuesday night. Here's tonight's forecast. Not a whole lot going on. If things play out right and they remain elevated here as forecasted, we could see some auroras down into obviously some of the northern tier states and maybe even a little bit southward, depending on the current position of the BZ component. So watch for that tomorrow night. Got a decent chance of seeing some aurora activity as a G2 storm is forecasted. As far as flaring goes, we did see that, or we saw that M flare here. I think it's a M3.4, it looks like. Really sharp, impulsive event there earlier this morning. A little bit of choppiness going on with some consistent M flare activity. There's a couple different active regions around the eastern limb that I don't think we got a view of it yet. Here in the coming days, we'll get a little bit better perspective of what's going on here as the sunspots, rotate a little bit further into the Earth-directed view. This region right here does look a little bit complex. So we'll keep an eye on that one. That's going to be sunspot number 3814. I think this image was taken yesterday. So between yesterday and right now, the current, most recent image, notice quite a bit of complexity here within the center portion of that core. So things are getting quite amplified and complex here with that sunspot. That's when things can really start kicking up here. So keep an eye on that. And also some other active regions there on the far side, which we'll get a better view here in the coming days once again. But look at that. Sun is throwing off a whole bunch of explosions there on the far side and the western limb. We're dodging these shots, but eventually, I suspect we'll get hit with a pretty decent CME here as we continue to advance towards the solar maximum next year. Solar maximum of this solar cycle 25, peaks in about June of next year. And then after that, we'll still have another year or so of elevated activity. But the maximum peak level is forecasted there in June of next year. So we got a lot of time here to dodge some of these events. But occasionally we'll get hit with a couple decent CMEs, similar to what we've seen back in May when the auroras, I seen the auroras for the first time in my life here in Northern California. So it was pretty neat. All right, let's back out of here. Check out the severe weather outlook here today. Not a whole lot going on. A little marginal risk here for severe weather, mainly up in the northeast there. Some wind. That's about it. Just a little bit of wind threat up there in the New York State area. Okay, hurricanes now. We're talking about a named storm out here in the Gulf of Mexico. Francine, Tropical Storm Francine. Welcome to the map there. Probably not going to be welcoming, as far as the folks down there in Texas, but it's there, and that's something we have to deal with. There is currently some tropical storm warnings up in the Gulf of Mexico here. Louisiana have a hurricane watch here, tropical storm watch as well within the area to the west and to the east here. Also, a little bit of tropical storm watches across the southern tip of Mexico down, or southern tip of Texas down into Mexico there. Right now, it's a tropical storm. Got winds around 60 miles per hour, moving north-northwest at 5 miles per hour. So pretty slow, but it is rapidly strengthening. It is expected to be a hurricane here shortly, probably by tomorrow night, looks like Tuesday night. And that will make its way up towards Louisiana. I'm sure these will go into hurricane warnings eventually. Right now there's a hurricane watch here across the pink. Tropical storm watch on the left and right side here. As far as the potential flooding activity, look at that. Lake Charles area, New Orleans might be in there as well. Got a moderate risk here of seeing some significant rainfall in the area due to this tropical system. Potential rainfall is up around the 6 to 8 inches, maybe a little bit more across this region. We'll have to watch and see how strong it gains its momentum here. Here is the Francine right now. Let me bring up the most recent one here real quick. Stand by. I'm going to put this into motion and see what we have. Look at that. This is the forecast model and the GFS model showing rapid strengthening there of Francine as it takes aim at the Louisiana area. Right now it's staying on path from last night as well. So, this is only a day or so out. And more than likely this will be the path that it takes there, directly over Louisiana area. That's not a good deal, right? Going to bring a lot of rain. Let's check out, see what we're expecting as far as the strength goes. Francine models here. Here's the rapid strengthening. Some of these forecast models, intensity guidance models here, are showing a Category 2 strength hurricane. Maybe up there, getting close to 3. The majority of them, though, show right around a 1, upper 1 category here for the intensity of hurricane, or right now, Tropical Storm Francine. It will be a hurricane very soon, though. So we'll have to watch for that. Obviously, it's going to be a rough couple days here for the Louisiana area as things progress and develop. Looks like all that moisture is going to stir up into the Tennessee area and just linger out there for a little bit. But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep checking back on it. Northern California, we've got some cooler weather coming in. And notice things are starting to get more active out here across the west. We're starting to head into the fall time period where storms and the jet stream tends to drip a little bit further south, dip a little bit further south. And, I'm looking forward to it. I've done my summer time. Months of 100-degree plus weather out here in Northern California is just miserable. So I'm ready for some cooler weather, and it looks like it's coming in here later this week. All right, let's see what else we got. Nothing major going on here. Petrolia is offline. I'll double check that and add it back if it doesn't come back up here. A lot of times these networks will go down and then they'll just pop up again by themselves. So aside from that, things look pretty quiet there on the board. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity currently taking place, but still be on guard, stay safe, enjoy your Monday, and we'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening for the nightly update. Take care, folks. Have a good day.